right, welcome KL to the BlockHash podcast and the first podcast that is going live. So very excited to start doing them this way more often and having some really authentic conversations. So KL, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Thanks very much, Brandon. Doing great, thanks.
Awesome. So before we jump in and talk about Hello Pal and the company and everything, and I have a lot of questions about, doing business in China, how crypto is involved with Hello Pal as well. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and, how you got to where you are now.
Sure. I was born in Malaysia, but I spent most of my educational years in the UK, about 10 years there. So including university where I read law. So I started off as a lawyer in London and then got sent to Hong Kong, and I've been in this part of the world ever since. So started off as a lawyer, focused on the tech space, and soon after that, one of our clients, which was actually involved with part of the Asian outfit of AOL at the time, if you still remember, AOL being around. So they brought me on board, and we became China.com, which was the first publicly listed NASDAQ company, internet Asian company to list on NASDAQ. So so we did a lot of corporate structural work. We spun off another company in Hong Kong. So had a lot of that experience, involved in the .com boom at that time. Also saw the .com crash firsthand. And then after that, I joined SoftBank, which is an investment company, also in Hong Kong. Was there for 7 years, did many investments around Asia, especially. And one crucial investment in China, Hangzhou specifically, the city of Hangzhou, which some of your listeners may have heard that's where Alibaba, the company, is. So that company became especially significant because that founder became a good friend of mine. And then when we sold off that company, he then became a VC investor. And I, as a VC investor, then decided to become an entrepreneur. So we effectively switched roles. So one day he said, "Hey, come to China to expand your business." So that's what I did, yeah. And that's how I ended up in Hangzhou for over coming up to 9-10 years now.
It's a long time. Why Hangzhou? I know you mentioned it off the podcast, but why did you decide to have the company based there?
So actually the most immediate reason was because my friend was there and he had a lot of connections there, and he could get me a work permit. So it's always good to, if you're going to a new country, to be somewhere where you could get help. So that's where we decided. But it also ended up to be, if I were to choose again, I think Hangzhou would be a really good choice. I mean, traditionally, one would choose maybe Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen, the big three. And these are especially if you're in tech. So especially Shenzhen, which is known to be the Silicon Valley of China. A lot of people, especially with looking for tech work, go to Shenzhen, but and actually would have been logical for me being in Hong Kong, just around the border at that time. But ended up in Hangzhou, which I love it here because it's not as fast paced as the other three. So that's I think a good mix of work and pleasure. But in terms of tech, I don't think it's any less necessarily in terms of the talent pool when compared to Beijing and Shanghai. But particularly thanks to Alibaba being here, because Alibaba is the largest tech company in China. So a lot of bustling talent here.
So is it more or less just like a more relaxing or enjoying place to live versus living in a crazy big booming city in China?
Yeah. So, for example, in Beijing, you have all sorts of people there, not just tech. All politics stuff all there. And Beijing weather in terms of the smog is something that a lot of people are concerned about. So I probably would have Beijing as my last choice of all these cities. Shanghai would be a good choice. Shanghai is very metropolitan, a bit like Hong Kong in some ways. So you would see a lot of foreigners in Shanghai. So a lot of foreigners start off in Shanghai. That's where they would feel most at ease. The differential is the least. But if you want a more authentic Chinese experience, then you probably want to be out of Shanghai, and well, Shenzhen at least, and then Hangzhou, as I said, for me, a good middle ground, where you have very beautiful lake here, which is famous for the West Lake. And it's just not as bustling. You won't feel as pressured as cities like Shanghai and Shenzhen or Hong Kong.
Well, where would you recommend a foreigner, if they were going to China for the first time, if they go first? Do you recommend them going to one of those big cities, or checking out a place like Hangzhou first? Or
yeah, well, it would really depend on the time you have and what you want to get out of it. If it's long term, then definitely, if you have like a week or so, definitely see all the major ones, see the big cities, but also get to see the second, third tier cities, and especially far out places. And if you have time, even I would recommend going to Xinjiang. There's so much talk about Xinjiang, which to me is just BS that's being reported. And people get surprised, when they go to Xinjiang and visit it and see it for themselves. Like, oh my God, this is nothing like what has been reported. If you have time, definitely check that out. And a lot of scenic places, like out in Yunnan, which is southern China. You could even go as far west as Tibet. But at the very least, you probably want to visit at least one or two of the major cities. Beijing, Shanghai typically is where tourists would go to. And typically, if you go to Shanghai, because Hangzhou is very near to Shanghai, you could do a stop in Hangzhou. Or if you're in Hong Kong, then a lot of people, they just hop over to Shenzhen because it's just across the border from Hong Kong.
You'll have to make a list of places for me to travel. Contrary to popular belief, I've heard a lot of good things about visiting China and what it's actually like versus how the media portrays it in Western world in the U.S. So it's definitely a place I want to go at some point. I just got to figure out how to get a visa to do it.
Right now that's an issue. But the great thing is it's starting to get relaxed. So previously it's hard to even get a visa, but I think now, I think particularly you're in the US, right?
I'm in the US 6 months out of the year in Las Vegas, and then now I'm in Medellin, Colombia. I'm here usually the other 6 months out of the year. I like to go back and forth, but I haven't been to Asia yet.
For the US, they even made a special exception to say that because originally you would have to get one of the Chinese vaccines to come in, but I think they've now, for US citizens, they're allowing the Pfizer, AstraZeneca vaccines, but unfortunately, right now you still have to be quarantined for 2 weeks in China before so you're stuck in a hotel basically. But maybe you could be, since you're doing, sorry.
Even if you have the vaccine, they make
because especially with talks about even if you're vaccinated, you can still transmit. We hear that quite commonly. So you have to be quarantined, stuck in a hotel room. But if you're doing podcasts most of the time, it's probably not much of a difference doing it out of a Chinese hotel than from where you are.
I've been in quarantine in Colombia, and I've been stuck indoors, so I know how to do it. And doing a podcast, you can do it indoors pretty easily as long as I got internet. I'm okay. That's the most important part.
And China, and here's another thing about China: the online services I would say, the most advanced in the world by far, far. So like food delivery is a piece of cake, and you get a huge variety, and they are at your doorstep very, very quickly. You know, so and just purchasing, online shopping generally, you know, whatever you want, you know, getting stuff, whatever you think of actually, especially if you are familiar with buying through the Chinese online space. It's so convenient. It's one of the things I would probably miss the most if I were to ever leave China. And one of the biggest reasons not to leave China, because of the convenience of the things like online shopping and everything.
Right. Brings up a good question. Do you like ever use cash when you're in China? Like, because I hear these stories all the time, and I've seen the videos. Like, cash just doesn't exist in China. Everything's, you know, digital.
I've heard of that concept. Yeah, yeah. I think I used to use it a long time. Yeah, it hardly. I haven't carried my wallet around for many years now. When in China, the only reason I would carry my wallet is if I wanted to store my bank card. If I'm still even go to the bank, I mean, hardly go to the bank now. So yeah, that's really no reason to, and you would even have a hard time getting change in many places if you were to use cash. Yeah, so
that's crazy.
So one of the things,
you guys just use like Alipay and what's the other one?
WeChat.
WeChat. So you guys use Alipay and WeChat the most?
Yes, these are the main two. The only real two, really. Alipay is typically used where I am in Hangzhou, because Alipay is from Alibaba. So that's where we are, and so we usually use Alipay. But I think in Shenzhen, which is where Tencent, the company responsible for WeChat, is, most people use WeChat Pay. Yeah, but they're both interchangeable.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think about. In the US, I mean, it's a little behind, but it's catching up. But it's funny because in Colombia, it's like everyone wants to use cash still. So it's like that hurdle, you know, when you get over it. Everyone wants me to pay them in cash, and I have a hard time getting cash sometimes. It's kind of funny, but
and this was it.
Sorry,
no, I was just going to say that this was, you know, we were using Alipay, WeChat many years ago already. You know, it's like and it's funny to see how, you know, many places haven't even started with this sort of, you know, e-payments.
Right. Why did you get into tech? Was there a specific reason that, or, you know, type of technology that got you excited about wanting to be in this space, in this sector, that, you know, led to you getting to Hello Pal, or did you just by happenstance get into the space? Oh, did we lose him? Oh, hold on, folks.
Hello, sorry.
Hey, you're good.
Get cut off? All right. Yeah, why did I get into tech? So I've always been interested in tech. I had a computer very early on. My first modem was a 14.4K modem. So I think I've just dated myself. But always been interested in computers, software, the internet. So even as a lawyer, I specialized in internet law in China and Hong Kong. So my first business, before that, so when I was with SoftBank, so, you know, SoftBank being a tech investment company, we were just looking at tech deals all the time also, which you know, suited me fine. And when I first started off my company, which wasn't Hello Pal, it was an early educational company called Brill Kids. That was also a tech-based early educational company. That came about as, you know, a result of my wanting to teach my own daughter skills like reading, and not being able to get the tools that I really wanted. So at that time, you know, teaching her consisted of flashcards and DVDs, programs, and basically I want, for example, I wanted, every time I showed her a picture of a dog, I didn't want to keep showing her the same dog. I wanted her to have the concept, because she's too young to explain to, right? So it needs to be a direct assimilation of the information you're giving her. So I wanted to show her different pictures each time. So at that time I could only do it myself, and we are in the era of printing photos from film at that time. So you can imagine how laborious that was. So I said, hey, that's got to be a better way. So I started just doing it from PowerPoint, creating different PowerPoint presentations for her. I said, hey, all this could be automated. And so that's when I started to engage people online, freelancers, to start programming for me. And that became the genesis of the first product of BuildKits, which was Little Reader, which is actually getting a complete revamp right now due to the birth of my son, who's now 15 months old. And I've been using the original Little Reader as well as an upgraded version of it, using all the recent tech that's available to us. So that's how my entrepreneurship started off, with a tech product, educational product, and that's later on morphed into HelloPal. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool how the internet has evolved over the last 10, 20 years, especially over the last 10 years, going from, floppy disks and CDs to everything being digital and decentralized in such a short period of time is pretty crazy to think about. So it's exciting to, be in tech, and to, as long as you have, getting to watch that, really grow. It's got to be really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's always fascinating how far, and if things are moving faster and faster, the acceleration is there. Yeah. Hopefully,
so,
I keep saying that. Hopefully, I get to see things, like the Matrix type technology, where you're just jacking in yourself and then experiencing a completely different reality. Hopefully, I'll get to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close. I mean, that's pretty much what, VR is doing, right? Taking us out of our reality and putting us into a virtual ecosystem, a virtual world where we can do whatever we want. And, even when you put on an Oculus today, you kind of lose yourself a little bit. Like it's scary how good it is already. So in 5 or 10 years, that, excites me and frightens me a little bit more all at the same time.
And also computer to brain interfaces like Neuralink, by Elon Musk. So that's coming. So I'm hopeful I'll get to see it.
We're all going to be cyborgs. We're all going to be wired up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about HelloPal. I'm sure people are curious at this point what it is you're doing with that. So so tell me, like what is it? What's the mission? Like, why'd you start it? What does it do?
Yeah. So HelloPal is an international social network platform which allows people to just get on and meet other people from all across the world very easily. So you can search using countries, using the language spoken or the language that people are trying to learn, etc. It started off as a language learning focused product, where people wanted to learn a particular language would find people, native language speakers of that language on our platform. Except I then soon realized that the people using our app were not just language learners. They were, a lot of them weren't even interested in learning a language. They were just interested in meeting people from other countries. And that's a social group. And then the third group would be travelers, people who wanted to meet people from a particular country before they travel to that country. So that's why HelloPal then became just one app out of 3. The other 2 being TravelPal and LanguagePal. But the main app is still HelloPal, and that's now a very social focused app. But it's always been about connecting people from all over the world. So the company's mission from day one has been to bring the world closer together. So, and which I feel is particularly relevant, in today's age where people are getting more and more divided. So what we hope to achieve is to allow people to access each other directly, get to know about each other, learn about each other, the culture, language, etc. Directly, instead of listening to just media, which have their own agenda oftentimes and their own biases. So in getting people together, obviously language learning, language skills is a big factor in allowing the ease of communications. So, HelloPal has, language tools to help you do that. And that's something that we are going to be expanding further when we relaunch Language Pal, which I mentioned earlier. It's going to be something which I feel could, carve out a small slice of the pie from, apps like Duolingo. I think we are doing it. We'll be doing it in a very unique way. So to watch out for is Language Pal. But Travel Pal is taking a back seat of obviously right now with the travel restrictions. So coming back, so HelloPal is a social platform, and then back in 2019 we started including live streaming, and that's how we've been generating revenue since then. So we brought on board a very experienced live streaming team at that time, who were part of the start of the live streaming industry in China. And basically, I think a lot of the live streaming technology and methods in terms of revenue models, etc., I believe it actually starts off in China. That's the birthplace of a lot of live streaming models. So this team was part of that. So they came on board, and we had a running start basically, especially with our existing user base. So live streaming has been doing very well, especially over the 2020. We had a 900% increase. If you compare December monthly revenues compared to January. So they're still rising, and we are expanding into not just the Chinese live streaming market, which was where our initial focus was. Now the key is to expand in other markets. Middle East is one which we've been doing in the recent months, and we'll continue to expand and a lot more markets to target. And so still early days for our live streaming, but more recently we've moved into the crypto space, which is probably what your listeners are more interested in. So yeah, happy to also talk about that very soon.
Yeah, I definitely have some questions on that as well. So this is like a social media app that like helps, break down language barriers, and connecting people. Is that kind of like what the main focus is?
That's right. A way to basically find people across the world. It's different from social media networks like Facebook. So Facebook, you go on to basically socialize with existing friends and or meet new friends who are friends of friends, in a very already connected way. Whereas our platform is more to let you meet completely new people across the world. So very often, users don't even have a single existing friend on that platform, and they're there purely to meet new people, especially across the world.
Got it. What markets are you in right now?
Oh, we have users from virtually every single place you can think of. Over 200 countries and regions. But we have a large group in China. That's probably the number one country in terms of number of users. They account for maybe 30% of our user base. But they're scattered everywhere. A lot in South America, Middle East, increasingly because of our expansion of live streaming services there. So typically they are people who are from the lesser developed countries who have more of a need to, for example, learn English, and a desire to speak to English speakers, especially. So typically, they are from the lesser developed, developing countries.
Do you know your user base yet? Like how many users you got, globally using HelloPal?
Yeah, we are coming up to 5.7 million users across the world.
That's a lot. That's pretty good. It's a good start.
Yeah.
So can you download it in the US at all? Like, is it on the Apple Store and Android Store? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You'll find it on the App Store, Apple App Store, and on the Google Play.
I'm gonna do it right now, live. Hold on. Let's see. It's called HelloPal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that's going to take a few minutes to download, but yeah, we'll pull that up in a minute. Yeah, that's really cool. So 5.6, 5.7 million users or so, give or take, globally.
Yeah. And so the recent focus has been on live streaming, and a lot of people start actually earning money. They're actually making a living through live streaming on our app. So typically how that works is that viewers watch hosts, and most of these hosts are probably females, and so they have a following of people watching them, and they are chatting, they could be singing, dancing, and just entertaining people, their viewers. And so viewers are able to tip them by using cash to top up, and then send them virtual gifts. And as these hosts, live streamer hosts, they
got it.
So as they receive gifts, they can actually redeem that for cash. And people are amazed, how much some of the live streamers earn a month. Yeah.
So can they
they're buying cars
when they're doing live streams and stuff? Can they tip in crypto or anything like that yet, or is that maybe part of the plan in the future?
That was part of the plan, but unfortunately, because of the App Store regulations on both the Apple App Store and Google Play, that would be problematical. The reason is that on apps like ours, where you are able to buy virtual gifts, they won't allow you to have a digital wallet, a crypto wallet, because that would end up being able to circumvent the purchase so payment would not be any longer going through the Google or Apple. So we are coming up with a new app, or crypto focused app, tentatively named CryptoPal, where there will be a wallet. And so we intend to be building a crypto focused community there, and finding ways to really tie that in with our other apps like HelloPal. And I think effectively you'd be able to socialize on HelloPal and then do the crypto transfer on tipping, through our separate app. Yeah, but we're still tying it all together.
Yeah, that sounds like a good direction to go. Not just because crypto is such a big deal right now, but also because you got a good platform, a good app, you got a good user base that seems to be growing very quickly. With live streams, the ability to tip, it's so much easier to do it with crypto, and so much faster and so much broader.
Definitely.
Same reason why Twitch is going that direction. They've been doing it for a long time, being able to tip your favorite game streamer, so it opened up so many doors for you guys.
Yeah, certainly. And so we've been trying to make our users more crypto savvy. So that's one of the key things that we want to do, because for us, crypto is going to play an increasingly important role in our platform. So, payments, especially international payments, has been the biggest missing piece of the puzzle on our platform. If we want people to help each other, we want to be able to let people reward each other and to transfer value from one person to the other. And crypto, in our mind, has always been the best way to do it. So, and that's why we've been going big on crypto, and hence, all our recent announcements in this space.
Yeah. So how have you, sort of combined HelloPal and crypto thus far? I saw you guys had like a wallet. I saw something about a crypto mining service. So what are you guys focused on right now in terms of combining HelloPal with crypto?
Yeah. So our crypto initiatives started in 2018, where we partnered with a sort of like a sister company called Yitang, based in Shanghai, who are blockchain experts. They manage a lot of crypto assets. They help people launch. They did a lot of ICOs back then. So they helped us integrate a digital wallet into HelloPal. So that's going to be reappearing in a separate app now, in our crypto focus app. And recently we've announced the acquisition of 12,500 Litecoin/Dogecoin mining machines, mining rigs. And that basically puts us, we believe, probably the third largest corporate in terms of number of rigs mining Dogecoin. And so we are very long on Dogecoin. And by the way, when we announced that deal, Dogecoin was at 5.5 cents, and even lower when we first started to plan to do that. So the credit has to really go to Yitang, our partners who we mentioned earlier. They, back in 2019, 2020, 2019, had the foresight to then start to snap up a lot of these Litecoin machines, mining rigs. Back then when no one really wanted to mine Litecoin in China, so they bought up a lot of the rigs, believing that Litecoin, and especially Dogecoin, would surge, and how right they've been proved.
Nope. Hold on. Got to reload them again. What happened?
Sorry about that.
No worries. You're good.
Yeah. So how right they've been proven. So the great thing is, being a sister company with a common shareholder, we have our relationship is such that where they've agreed to basically put all those assets into HelloPal, and we're going to be mining a lot of Litecoin and especially Dogecoin, and with that, we've announced that we want to let our users experience crypto mining. Essentially, we'll be taking part of our assets, part of our machines, and allowing people to buy them virtually, and basically have the experience of seeing coin, crypto, Dogecoin, Litecoin appear in their wallet, every day. And we expect that our wallet will probably be the first wallet they've ever had, and the great thing is a lot of people are interested in mining now. They see, especially, how Bitcoin has been rising. Now they're starting to heard of this, crazy coin called Dogecoin, which was a joke. And so we've seen increasing interest in people wanting to mine as well as to start to use cryptocurrency. And so one way that we want to do that is allowing people to, giving them the benefits of the economic benefits of mining. And it's crazy how much, how economic it is. It's I think when we start reporting our numbers, the first one being a day, a couple of days from now, and then, but especially when you see after what we've accumulated in a month, how much coin that we're generating and how profitable it is. People will be even more interested in mining. So we want to share part of that profitability with our users in the hopes of bringing more crypto savvy people into our platform, as well as to make our users more crypto savvy. And then hopefully we'll have a community that has wallets, that's used to transferring crypto, and that just becomes a way of life. And it's actually coming back to what we were talking about earlier, how we use Alipay and WeChat Pay in China. I remember originally, when I was used to using cash, and then Alipay, what started, spreading. I had a hesitation in using Alipay. And I'm good with cash. I've been using this for God knows how many years now, right? So, but then, once you start using it and you're encouraged to use it, and they were incentivizing us to use Alipay. They basically, every purchase, they actually subsidize that purchase in order to get us using Alipay. And because they knew and how right they were that, when we start using it, that's no going back. Right, so exactly. hopefully, we get our users also starting to use crypto, and they'll see, hey, that's the best way to transfer value from one user to another. Yeah. So that's basically what we want to achieve.
Yes, as a Chinese-based company, you are a Chinese-based company, correct?
Well, our operational team is in Hangzhou, okay. But we're actually based in Vancouver.
Yeah, in BC.
Yes, we're listed there.
Cool. Beautiful city. I love Vancouver, BC.
Yeah.
So China's very against, the whole crypto mining thing. So, as a company that's, kind of getting into that, and that, has a bit of a base in China, have you guys had any issues with that, or any, authorities saying that you can't do that, or giving you any problems? Has it been like any hurdles or roadblocks with that?
Yeah. Well, first, I wouldn't say that China is very against crypto mining. I would say they are very conscious about issues related to crypto mining, especially energy consumption and energy generation, especially how it relates to pollution and the environment. So we've always known that the energy source that we use for our mining rigs is key. And that's why actually for us, it's been far less of an issue, and actually it could even work out in our favor. So for example, most of our rigs, virtually all our rigs, are hydroelectricity powered. And where if you don't use that electricity, it's getting wasted. So recently, I think you're probably alluding to, the recent talk about, China perhaps banning crypto mining. We really don't see that happening. What we see far more likely to happen is that there'll be a regulation of crypto mining, where probably you would not be allowed to use electricity that's from fossil fuel energy, for example. There'll probably be maybe perhaps a tax on it, or a raise in electricity prices, and it'll just become very regulated, which is something we welcome. It creates certainty, and that's what we see happening. But in any event, worst case scenario, if we're unable to mine in China, it's not actually that big a deal, that difficult to actually move the rigs offshore to a different country. And we actually already have contingency plans for that. We've had that for some time already. So we may even see some rigs in BC.
Yeah, it's curious because all we hear is like the news and what China thinks and is doing, but we don't really know the reality of it. Is it really that harsh? Are they going to have regulations? Will they be positive regulations or negative type of regulations where it stifles it in China? Because so much of the the Bitcoin hash rate comes out of China. I think most of all of it comes out of China still. So it's like when I see that in the news, they're like, oh, they're arresting people and shutting down mining operations. Like, then why is it like, got the highest hash rate, coming out of China, versus the rest of the world? Like, to me, it's like there's some inconsistencies in terms of like what's being said and what's actually happening. So
correct. Those are probably isolated. I'm not sure which incidents you're referring to, but they are typically isolated incidents due to other reasons. And I think there was some confusion also with shutting down of mines, which were coal mines, and then because some of the crypto mines were also related to or put in that area, they got confused as well. But as you pointed out, everything's still getting coming up from China. Our machines are still running and have been running. Actually, the only reason why some of the machines haven't run some of the time is because of season where there wasn't enough water and there was a cap on the electricity generated. That's the only reason why our machines have not run sometimes. Nothing to do with regulations or anything.
You've also mentioned Doji a few times, so I have a question. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's like a legitimate thing to invest in the crypto space, or do you think it's something that's really highly speculative and is more of a gamble than is actually an investment? Or do you have an opinion on it? Or
certainly I have an opinion on it, and it's probably obvious what my position is because we've gone such big time into Doge and Litecoin. But having said that, because our machines are actually they're Litecoin machines. It's just that because they're merged mined with Doge, we generate Doge as well. But the great thing in doing this is that even if Doge goes to zero, we still have Litecoin, and mining just Litecoin is already profitable. Even if we completely discount Doge. But Doge is just taking us into the stratospheric heights in terms of returns. But I foresee that it's going to be way more volatile than the other cryptos. But I think there's enough base now and momentum now that it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to be around.
What about your thoughts just in general on the overall crypto space? It's obviously had a very slow run up into 2021, and then beginning of the year it just kind of took off, and there's like a billion reasons we could talk about and be here all night for. And then it's had this somewhat dramatic pullback, and now it's kind of sitting in this interesting range, and there's all these things going on, and positive and negative. Like, where do you think we're at? Do you think this bull run is winding down and coming to an end, or do you think this is just the means to the larger part of this bull market trend, or do you have an opinion on that? Or
I believe firstly in terms of long term, crypto is definitely here to stay. I would bet very, very big on that. I see it completely revolutionizing everything. It's going to morph in its form, but it's definitely here to stay. As to who the eventual top cryptos will be, that's a big question mark, but for sure cryptos will be here. As for whether the current bull run is over, I don't think so. I think it still has legs. I've always expected these big increases and drops, these spikes and drops. To be expected, and especially with more and more people coming in now, you're going to have people taking profit at the first opportunity they get. Especially
Right.
with hedge funds in the picture also. To be expected, and any little news that comes out, positive or negative, is going to be magnified, to suit their purpose. And so, for example, like this time, what was the cause of it? Partly because of Elon's tweet about Tesla, combined with the recent talk in China. But eventually these are just going to iron out. I don't see the Chinese regulation. I mean, there have been talk about Chinese regulations since God knows when, really, right? Since all the way back in 2018. And look what's happened. Actually, if anything, more people are using crypto now in China than there ever was back in 2018.
That's crazy still to think about. And this whole like temporary downtrend in the market, I guess, it's been a string of negative events. Obviously Elon and his tweets, the whole, Bitcoin's not eco-friendly
That's right.
idea has been a big one, which I totally agree with for a number of reasons. And then obviously China coming out for the billionth time saying it's banning crypto, if it's actually banning crypto. I swear it said it every year for like the last 10 years. So I'm just like, why are people reacting to that? And then India saying they're getting tighter on it. The Federal Reserve, or no, the Federal Reserve, the IRS in the US saying that they're going to seize your crypto if you don't pay taxes. And I'm just like, when you stop and you think about it and you like look at the news and you're like, well, of course the IRS is going to seize your money if you don't pay your taxes. But like, realistically, if you're not paying your taxes, are you leaving your crypto on Coinbase where it's vulnerable? Probably not. Like, I don't know. I think some of the news that goes out, it sounds scary to the average person, but it also is like really just stupid stuff that will blow over. And, just my personal opinion, when I look at the market, it feels like a steel trap where people are a little scared. They're selling, they're getting out, but the people that are a bit wiser, that have a lot of money, the big companies, institutions, even governments, they're dumping so much cash into crypto right now and buying. I think a lot of people are going to get burned and left out, just, because of this temporary dip. I know it's scary, but I think that we're going to finish the year fairly strong. Maybe your opinion is the same.
For sure. And we're going to see a lot more spikes and dips. Coming for this reason or that. It's just that we don't know what the rumors or reasons are going to be. But we expect this. We've always expected this. And it could be a big correction. Maybe even at the end, who knows? But overall, I think we are patient.
Yeah. Well, what goes up must come down. So I mean, it's kind of how crypto works, and it's a market, so it's never going to be straight up or straight down. So. Before we like slowly start wrapping everything up, I know there's a bunch of comments and people that have some questions. Do you mind answering a few of them? I think I can throw them on the screen. Some of them are pretty straightforward. Like, oh, cool, they do pop up. Like, are you guys? Because you said you guys are in North America already, right? So you're doing live streaming in North America?
Well, our user base. So what I was saying earlier is that so. In terms of live streamers, there are more in Asia and in Middle East than there are in North America. But North America is somewhere where we want to start focusing on soon, especially when we relaunch our Language Pal app, which is focused on language learning, but we'll also have live streaming on that as well. But currently, not so much in North America, but plans for North America, certainly.
Another person asked, can you guys move your crypto mining rigs out of China, safely, quickly if you needed to? I think you answered that a little while ago.
Yes.
You have a contingency for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We already have a contingency for that if we need to do that quickly. I think what would happen is that we would just suffer, a short period of time where we're not earning crypto. But it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things.
And let's see, we got more comments coming in real quick. Is there a time frame on the app, the CryptoPal app, the tentative CryptoPal, or do you guys have another name for it, or can you divulge that, or no?
No, well, this is the current name of it. It's likely we'll call it that. It's just that the only question is whether we want to make it very clear that it's crypto related, because it can get sticky sometimes when people say, oh, crypto. Say, oh no, it's and then people, some sectors of industries, they get very nervous. So I don't know. So we may call it something that doesn't sound so obviously crypto. But anyway, time frame. We've been hoping to launch it this month, but knowing how things last minute changes come in, and probably I say 1 to 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Another person was asking what the name of the company is that you guys partner with to acquire the mining rigs. What was it called?
Yitang, YITANG, and you can find information on them by going to our website, hellopal.com, and just going to the news sections and seeing all the news releases that we've been putting out. So anything related to crypto, you'll find a mention to Yitang.
Okay, let's answer one more, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Will you reach out to Elon and tell him about the hydro energy being used for mining? I don't think that one's too much of a secret. I mean, there's a lot of extra cast-off energy from hydroelectric energy, especially in the US too. So I'm surprised there aren't more mining ops, taking advantage of that. But I don't know. Do you want to reach out to Elon?
Would love to reach out to Elon. If any of you could help put us together, would be great.
Okay, so we'll call that good for the comments. But just to wrap it up, what's your guys' roadmap look like for the rest of 2021? Obviously, you got a couple apps you're working on. Obviously, you guys are really pushing into crypto and stuff. But is there anything you want people to be aware of or to look out for, like any important dates or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I think the most exciting thing to look out for is the amount of crypto, Doge and Litecoin, that gets generated and how it impacts our bottom line, which is something that we are very excited about. And basically, our sharing that with the community when we launch our mining, crypto mining initiative. But of course, something that's probably closest to my heart, Language Pal. That's getting launched, later this year. Stay tuned for that.
Sweet. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. KL, thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast and do the first live episode. I think we had some decent engagement for the first time doing it. I didn't really tell anyone about this one, so I'm glad some people showed up and participated. And we'll definitely push this out even further. I'll do a little bit more post editing and keep in contact with you guys. And man, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. A lot of good info.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Okay.